after he was reelected, she got a call from Valerie Jarrett asking Oprah to come to the White House with a bunch of celebrities to back Obamacare and to do public appearances in favor of Obamacare. She sent a low-level assistant instead. Now, when the president asks you to come to the White House, you go to the White House. And
right.
Oprah said no, and Oprah didn't even send Obama a congratulatory tweet after he won re-election. I mean, that's how she feels about it.
Right. In the book, you discuss how the president and the first lady, they want a dynasty. That's the goal. They intend to have power for years to come. What would an Obama dynasty look like?
What would an Obama dynasty look like? Well, it's hard to say because he's going to be like, 54, 55 when he leaves the White House. He's going to be a young man. He certainly wants to have influence over the Democratic Party. And he's very concerned, with good reason, that if the Clintons win the White House, and I use the plural Clintons because if Hillary runs and wins, you know you're going to get Bill to two for the price of one.
Yeah.
They will automatically be the heads of the Democratic Party and essentially shove Obama off to the side, and which they're already trying to do, by the way, and doing a pretty good job of it, I must say.
Wow. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to, this sort of back and forth over their legacies. Do you think that there's been a lot of discussion too about the Castros from San Antonio, Julian Castro, Joaquin Castro? I know he was sort of selected to give the keynote. He was selected to give the keynote 2012 at the DNC. They're grooming him in the same way that the president was groomed.
Right.
Would he possibly be part of that? I know that they'd like to have influence in who their successors are, so to speak.
Yeah, well, every president does, but most presidents, starting with Harry Truman, who wanted Adlai Stevenson and got John F. Kennedy instead, in 1960, it just doesn't generally work that presidents can, because in this day and age, presidents aren't picked. They're self-chosen by winning primaries. And whether one of the Castro brothers has it in him to actually beat Hillary Clinton in the primary when Hillary has all the money, all the organization, and the name recognition and union backing, which, by the way, is extremely important because the unions have all that money and manpower. It's going to be very hard to knock her off in the primary, I think. On the other hand, given the way Hillary has bungled her book rollout, I think she has shown us that she's going to be a very vulnerable candidate for president if the Republicans put up somebody who, is able to beat her.
Right. It doesn't seem to be that she doesn't seem as publicly ruthless as she usually is. And I'm not saying that her image herself personality-wise has softened, but you have a theory that you say that the reason she initially postponed her testimony on Benghazi was due to health. And there's so much in the media about this. Tell us a little bit about her health and maybe how this is going to play into 2016.
Well, what I can tell you is that despite her statements that her health is fine, number one, you can just look on television and watch her interviews, and you know for sure that this is not the healthiest woman. But more importantly, her doctors have told her that she has a heart valve problem, that maybe eventually it'll have to be replaced, which means major, major surgery. And she has to be closely monitored for the rest of her life.
Wow. Yeah. And that's something that I've always wondered that, because we heard that she was, while she was Secretary of State, she was hospitalized, and then we never really heard a whole heck of a lot about that.
That's right.
There was never.
And the president and Bill Clinton, in a very unusual slip of the tongue for him, said that it took her 6 grueling months of rehabilitation to overcome the clot in her head and the fainting spell. Now, that's not the description of somebody who has just had a minor incident.
Wow. Well, this is a fascinating book.
Well, it's great to be talking to you about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've always been so intrigued by the dynamic between these two couples, because I thought there's never going to be anyone who is as ruthlessly ambitious as Bill and Hillary Clinton. They've been plotting their rise to power in Washington, D.C. for decades. And then the Obamas come along, and you can just see the frustration etched in their faces. Ed Klein, Blood Feud, the Clintons versus the Obamas. It's a pleasure, Ed. Thanks so much for your time.
It's a great
today.
pleasure to be with you again. Thanks, Dana.
Take care. Folks, we have a quick break, and when we return, Florida Man is on the way. You got to get your dose of Florida Man before the weekend. Keep it here.
This is The Dana Show. Talk lines are open now at 866-455-9797. This is The Dana Show.
I have a lot of Florida man and Florida woman, Kevin. And you know how I was telling you about how I'm really obsessed with owls, and I really wanted a pygmy owl because they're adorable and they look angry and like they're staring through your soul all at the same time. Well, then I learned that pygmy owls, because of the Migratory Bird Act, you can't own them. It's illegal. But I think maybe perhaps depending on what state in which you live, burrowing owls, you can. Unless you live in Florida. Let's kick it.
Hey, brother, it's time to check in on Florida Man.
It was like this story was written specifically for me. It includes Florida and an owl, right? I mean, how bad could it get? Oh, I don't know. It's from BrowardPalmBeach.com, their Animal Planet section. I just need to read you the headline. I'm going to read it as it is written, and that's all I'm going to do. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the story, but the headline, burrowing owl gets tangled in somebody's hair weave. At Vista View Park in Davie, Florida, 4 baby burrowing owls are prompting some wacky human activity. Burrowing owls are protected in Florida. Their populations are threatened because of the habitat destruction that has come as evil humans develop natural areas. The evil's not in there. These days, the owls often build their burrows in open fields they find in suburban areas, at parks, airports, and schools. The mama owl from one owl family that lives in a burrow at Vista View Park has hurt her leg and was recuperating at the South Florida Wildlife Center in Fort Lauderdale until her release yesterday. Her injury? It appears to be, a length of what is thought to be a section of artificial hair weave tangled around her foot. The glob of hair weave probably looked like an animal to the bird, says parks naturalist Kelly Whitney. Says Whitney, I think she probably tried to grab it, thinking it was something to eat. She probably thought she was grabbing dinner for her children. The park staff kept an eye on the mama owl as she tried to pluck the weave off of her foot. But some strands of the weave tightened on her leg to the point that rescuers finally decided to intervene. The mother owl is in recovery, just so you know. Do you have any comment on that story, Kevin?
No, not really, because it's just gotta watch out for your weave. I'm glad I don't have one. You know, if I had one, I would probably worry about that every day. I'd worry about those owls. So I'm really glad I don't have one.
Did you read this? You've heard about the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears, right?
I have, yes.
I have read about this. I've read this story to my kids about Goldilocks and 3 bears. You know, Goldilocks comes in. This porridge is too hot. This porridge is too cold. This porridge is just right. Now imagine what that would look like if Goldilocks and the 3 bears, if Goldilocks was a Florida woman, and instead of bears, it was just somebody's house. That's where you get this story. News4Jax.com. Homeowners find woman asleep on their couch in St. Augustine Beach, Florida. A 19-year-old woman accused of breaking into St. Augustine Beach home, taking a shower, changing into the homeowner's pajamas, making herself some food, and falling asleep on the couch, is facing 2 charges of burglary, theft, and criminal mischief. The 19-year-old woman, I'm calling her Goldilocks, she's blonde. She also drank 2 bottles of their wine. She entered the home this was last Friday. She told investigating officers that she was told by a male friend that the house was empty and that she could stay there through an unlocked door. But when the homeowners came home at 2:30 a.m. and Baby Bear saw someone sat in his chair, she got scared and ran out of the home, leaving